You guys are watching.
You're watching. Keep watching.
Clearview TV. Keep watching.
If you touch that button, you'll get weekly.
It's obvious that the station is clear.
If you're not watching Clear TV, that means you don't get light for your area. You are missing. Ah, dang.
Keep watching Clearview TV.
Hello and welcome to Clearview News. We're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. In the news, Nigerian government asks National Assembly to approve payment of 2.5% of the Sani Abacha loot for persons who facilitated the recovery process. Independent National Electoral Commission canvasses uniform law to govern conduct of local government elections in the country. A pair of Russian bombers with nuclear capability makes unprecedented landing in South Africa just as the Russia-Africa summit ends in Sochi. I am Prudence Okona with the details of these and more stories. And President Muhammadu Buhari and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed to put Nigeria-Russia relations on a fast track and pursue the completion of partially completed and abandoned projects initiated by both countries. At a bilateral meeting which was held at the ongoing Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi, the two leaders agreed to start new infrastructure projects and expand trade and investment, security, and military cooperation. Statements made by both leaders, Nigeria and Russia, will work together to improve efficiency in Nigeria's oil sector, which is the backbone of the economy, in a way that will see to the rehabilitation of epileptic oil refineries through establishment of framework for a joint venture between Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and Russia-based leading oil company Lukoil. The issue of uncompleted and abandoned Ajokuta steel rolling mill was presented by President Buhari. His request for the return of Russia on a government-to-government relationship for completion and commissioning of the plant was accepted by President Putin. Earlier in the day, the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, architect Olamilekan Adegbite, had a very fruitful discussion with his counterpart in Russia on Ajaokuta. The Russia government agreed to support the development of Nigeria's rail infrastructure by constructing 1,400 kilometers track from Lagos to the south-south city of Calabar. And the federal government is seeking the approval of the National Assembly to pay 2.5% as commission to those that assisted in the recovery of the late General Sani Abacha loot and other funds stashed abroad. It equally wants approval of 30 billion naira as part payment of the 150 billion naira that has been accumulated for years. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, dropped the hint during the ministry's budget defense in Abuja. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, Babatunde Fowler, yesterday said Nigeria loses $15 billion yearly to tax invaders. He spoke while declaring open a seminar by the West Africa Tax Administration Forum, WATAF, an exchange of information as a tool to combat offshore tax evasion, especially in the ECOWAS sub-region. The Federal Executive Council has approved the conversion of natural gas to methanol in order to address the environmental challenge caused by gas flaring in the country. The Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Bunaya Onu, briefed State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Oshibajo on Wednesday at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. He said the gas flaring, which had constituted a problem over the years, would be addressed by converting natural gas to methanol, which could be used in many sectors of the economy. According to ONU, the problem that we have in the Niger Delta, where Natural gas is flared and it has created lots of problems, environmental problems, and also problems for fellow Nigerians living around those areas where the gas is continuously flared. He believes that it is of major concern to the present administration, and one way to help to completely solve this problem of gas flaring is to convert natural gas into methanol. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has called for the review of laws governing the conduct of local government elections and financial autonomy of the state independent electoral commissions. INEC chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu made the call while receiving members of the Forum of State Independent Electoral Commissions of Nigeria during a courtesy visit to INEC headquarters on Thursday in Abuja. WTV's Aniete Patrick has more.
In his interaction with state electoral officials, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, noted that there had been discussions in the past on the need to have a modern law modeled on the current Electoral Act to govern the conduct of local government elections nationwide. He said this is to bring uniformity to the conduct of local council polls in the country rather than allowing state electoral commissions to evolve procedures, regulations, and guidelines that are oftentimes subject to manipulations. Professor Yakubu said the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections at the local government level is critical and needs to be addressed.
There are two things I think that we need to consider very seriously. Election is about a process defined clearly by law. There were some discussions in the past that there should be a model law act to govern the conduct of local government elections nationwide. We had cause to study some of the laws establishing some of the SIECs, and apart from the composition of the state electoral commissions, there is next to nothing actually. You don't see processes and procedures for the conduct of elections. I know that in many states they have their regulations and guidelines, but we need model laws that will govern the conduct of local government elections in the country that draw to a considerable extent from the national electoral legal framework.
Speaking earlier, Fosikon chairman Justice Igbozuruke Akoma said the visit is to facilitate the implementation of a memorandum of understanding based on proposals made during a meeting between the state electoral bodies and INEC held on February 21st, 2018. Justice Akomas, who is also the chairman of Abia State Independent Electoral Commission, commended INEC for the successful conduct of the 2019 general elections and its interest in the development of state independent electoral commissions.
Of the forum, had a meeting with you in this very hall, and also with some of your national commissioners present. And at that meeting, Mr. Chairman, we did propose a review of the MOU between your commission and the forum. In addition, we also proposed a quarterly meeting of the two electoral bodies. We are, however, not unaware of the fact that shortly after that meeting, you were really concerned with the preparation and conduct of the 2019 election. And that, of course, was because of our not meeting earlier than today. Our meeting today is precisely to facilitate the implementation of that lofty proposal made by you on the 21st of February 2008.
The IBA called for greater synergy between INEC and SEX as the two electoral bodies are both creation of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Annie T. Patrick, reporting for Cleview Television.
The police commands in Ondo and Edo State say they are jointly working around the clock to secure the safe release of the abducted Justice Abdul Dogo. Justice Dogo, a federal high court judge, was on Tuesday kidnapped along with his driver at Ibilo village in Edo State while on his way from Abuja to Akure, the Ondo State capital. Speaking on the incident, Ondo State Police Public Relations Officer Femi Joseph assured that the kidnapped George and his driver will be rescued.
The incident never happened in Ondo State. As a matter of fact, it happened outside our jurisdiction. That is somewhere in Ibilo, Edo State. However, we are working in tandem with our colleagues in Edo State. In those jurisdiction, this incident happened to ensure that his lordship is rescued unhurt.
While the safe rescue of the victims is being awaited, the doctors have reportedly contacted the family of the kidnapped High Court judge demanding a ransom payment of 50 million naira. And a three-day education summit of the Committee of Deans of Education in Nigerian Universities has opened at the Alexandra Auditorium University of Nigeria in Suka, Enugu State, Southeast Nigeria. Our correspondent now brings us the details.
The summit, which is focusing on the challenges and intervention of the country education sector, is coming at a time when poor budgetary provisions and inadequate funding by different tiers of government receiving critical comments. The Chairman Committee of Deans of Education in Nigerian Universities, Professor Julius Ademukoya, says the education sector is heavily challenged, hence the urgent need for declaration of state of emergency to revive it.
We cannot, as a major stakeholder in the education sector, hold our hands in a situation like this and do not make certain contributions.
Professor Charles Iwe, Vice Chancellor of University of Nigeria in Nsukka, and others speak on essence of the summit, especially now that the nation's education system is threatened by the sex for mark syndrome.
No matter how good we are as intellectuals, once the process is faulty, we are bound to produce faulty products.
What are the things that we as teacher educators need to do to ensure that we produce the best quality teachers? That is what, for me, that summarizes all.
This summit is actually timely because there have been a lot of lapses, a lot of problems in the education sector.
The summit has participants from both public and private universities across the country, and a comic is being expected.
Top officers from an international aerospace sector Airbus paid a courtesy visit to the Nigerian Army headquarters, Abuja. The visit was led by Airbus President for Africa and Middle East, Michael Hauri, who said they were on the visit to register their support to the Nigerian Army aviation towards increased efficiency in their military operations. Our correspondent was at the office of the Army Chief of Policy and Plans and brings us more.
The Chief of Army Policy and Plans, Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, hosted visiting officials of International Aerospace Sector, Airbus. The team was led by the President of Airbus, Africa and Middle East, Mikhail Hauri. The visit was to brainstorm on the areas of need of their counterparts in Nigeria and foster stronger relationship between the Nigerian Army and Airbus.
By coming, if I may say, in bulk, 2 days, to show how important we were considering the relation between Nigerian Armed Forces and Airbus. What we are looking at is to say that we are looking for what we call long-term partnership and to offer not only products but solutions, global solution, and third point, accompany the armed forces of Nigeria in the very vision of development of the country. This is at our level with a lot of humility why we come here and what message we want to deliver today.
Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun appreciated the interest of the Airbus in partnering with the Army, noting that their services are of immense value to the Nigerian Army.
We appreciate your interest in partnering with the armed forces of Nigeria and particularly the Nigerian Army. what you do is of interest to the Nigerian Army. We know having the interest to partner with the Nigerian Army is welcomed. The Nigerian Army is developing its aviation uh, aviation unit now, and whatever form of assistance in terms of mentoring for development of crew, in terms of personnel, pilots, ground crew, and equipment will be very much welcome.
The Chief of Army Policy and Plans believed that the Nigerian Army aviation at this crucial stage of fight against insurgency requires all forms of air support from local and foreign counterparts. Chinedu Mbatwegu, reporting for Clearview Television.
Watching Clearview Television News. We'll be back after this time out.
If you no get money, you can call me small doctor. Ọmọ ìyá tíjà, wọ́n ti gbá penalty lọ throwing. Ọmọ bẹ̀ka yé máa sùn, gbà tó yé máa sùn, bẹ̀rẹ̀ jó.
I'm very delighted. I'm happy to be at Clearview. Like the name implies, everything is quite clear here. I enjoy all Nigerians to continue to enjoy the very clear opportunity of broadcasting. And I said, Clearview, well done. Please keep it up. Clearview is it. Don't change that channel. Enjoy it.
Welcome back and moving on. Details of this year's all-round exhibition tagged Kogi Trade and Tourism Expo KTTE 2019 have been released. Partners to this year's expo include Nigeria's foremost steel industry, Ajaokuta Steel Company of Nigeria, Leadership Newspaper, and News Diary Online Limited. All roads therefore lead to Edge Drive Hotel in Lokoja, the state capital, from Friday, November 1st to Saturday, November 3rd. The event, which is being organized jointly by Kogi Women Entrepreneur Forum, KOWEF, and Tourism Kogi Project, will feature repositions on trade, technology, innovation, and cultural products. It will be climaxed by a tour of some selected tourist sites around Lokoja. Already, over 100 participants from the trade and tourism sectors are participating fully, with notable personalities like leading entrepreneur Mrs. Lami Ahmed, Managing Director of Christabel Nigeria Limited, Abuja, Engineer Samaila Akaba, Sole Administration of Ascan, and a host of others. The Executive Governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, will be leading his team to declare the expo open, while the Commissioner for Agriculture, Honorable Kehinde Olorun Toba, will deliver a keynote address during the opening ceremony. Speaking on the event, the Chairman Planning and Implementation Committee, Mohammed Atta, explained that the KTTE is very crucial to Kogi State and the people, adding that the initiative is to support government's efforts in positioning the state to unveil her social and economic potentials. And with 3 weeks to the Kogi governorship election, Governor Yaya Bello's second term bid has received another crucial endorsement. This time, the endorsement is coming from youths drawn from across the 21 local government areas of the state. In what could best be described as a show of support, the youths converged on Lokoja, the state capital, to pledge total support for Governor Bello's return to government house. Our correspondent completes the story.
The youth say the Yahya Bello-led administration has performed creditably and says the governor deserves to finish what he started.
He's a youth-friendly governor, and I would like to say that in the history of Kogi State, the youth have never had it this good before. So we're proud of him, and we've been coming up with ideas and programs on how to gather support for him.
We have a challenge in Ibadan about light, the problem of light, which has not been solved up to today. But however, the governor already had assured us completely that never again should the people of Ibadan be in the dark. So he has assured that there will be a constant light supply, and they make sure that they run a complete rural electrification as soon as he's being elected into the office.
Our come here today as one body, because I call us one body because we are all GIVCDOs. We believe in the vision and the mission of His Excellency Alhaji Ado Bello, and we are looking forward for the forthcoming election in Kogi State. And I believe we are winning already.
Top government officials at the gathering said all areas of the state have benefited from the development efforts of the state government in the last 3 years.
The deputy governors that served in the state, the secretary to the state government that served in the previous administration, the commissioners, the chairmen, the councillors that serve under WADA, none of them received their salaries and allowances even at the expiration of their tenure. It was His Excellency Alhaji Ayabelu that paid them. You have councillors in your various wards, you have chairmen that serve in your various local government. Please confirm.
The next 4 years is a kind of consolidation. The government is coming to consolidate on the past project and the past work that it's been doing.
And he has also proven to the world that the youth can lead and the youth can make a difference. So we are here to interact, to network politically, and then meet other new people and tell them about Yaya Bello.
The countdown to the November 16 governorship election is indeed on, and more of such activity is expected across the state in the days ahead.
On the countdown to the Kogi governorship election, both religious and traditional leaders in the state have held separate prayer sessions to solicit God's intervention for the conduct of a hitch-free poll devoid of violence and other forms of acrimony. Again, as our correspondent completes the story.
The traditional Christian and Muslim leaders gathered at different auditoriums, praying for divine guidance and protection before, during, and after the November 16 governorship election. A number of them declared support for Governor Yahya Bello's re-election bid, but said they trust in God's ability to do what's best for the state.
Our expectation is that after the prayer, we all prepare for re-election. That's why we're taking off without prayer.
We are rejoicing, praying to God to come and guide us throughout the period of this campaign, the election, and perhaps when our son will go back to that office as the 5th or 6th governor of this state.
So we want to appreciate God for bringing us this kind of peace, and we want Him to sustain it for us before the election, during the election, and after the election.
I'll continue to say peace, 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 because when there is peace, everything follows. So orderliness, don't take law into your hand. If you observe anything, report to the authority, and it will be taken care of adequately.
They explained the relationship between politics and religion as a key element of the life of the people, which should not be ignored.
And for the peace of God to reign in the land, for the progress of the nation and Kogi State in entirety. So we believe that in as much we have corporately prayed together, we believe that God will have a way in the election for the good of the citizens of Kogi State.
Religious leaders are not supposed to be on rally, dancing, criticizing, but you can preach, you can advise how to do it, how to go about it.
As the build-up to the governorship election intensifies, the traditional and religious leaders, and indeed their worshippers, see peace and security as too important to leave in the hands of the security agencies alone, which is why calls like this for divine help will not be the last before the November 16 poll.
And from Kogi, we take you to Bayelsa State, where the governorship election will also hold on November 16th. A joint delegation from the British High Commission in Nigeria and the Office of the United States Consul General in the country was in Yanagua, the state capital, to meet with the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Senator Duye Diwi, and his running mate. The delegation's key reason for the visit is to restate their home government's desire for the conduct of free, fair, and credible election in the state.
Right, we've been meeting the candidates and talking about how it's very important that the elections be free and fair and people refrain from engaging in violent acts and go out and cast their vote in a nice and safe and secure manner.
It is our sincere hope that we see free, fair, credible, and peaceful elections in Bayelsa in November. These are important tenets of a successful democracy. We know that that's what the people of Bayelsa want, and we will come back in November as observers to help document and to hopefully be a positive presence during what I hope is a successful election.
We raised our fears and concerns about reports that we have, intelligence reports that we have about what our opponents are planning to undermine democracy in our state. And we raised those fears before our August visitor. So all we are appealing and all we want is for a level playing field, and that for our umpires to be who they are as umpires, and for our security agencies to be very professional in electoral processes.
EU ambassador to Nigeria, Ketil Kalin, was on the same mission to the state where he met with Governor Siraki Dixon. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has sworn in Imonifi Isuma Inusa as the chairman of Esako West local government area of the state. This followed the removal from office of the erstwhile chairman Yakubu Musa over his alleged involvement in a 46 million naira fraud in the council. Swearing in Osuma at the government house in Benin City, Governor Obaseki said investigations by a panel constituted by the state government revealed that the former chairman was engaged in fraudulent activities and lacked ability to supervise the staff of the council. Governor Obaseki maintained that his administration has zero tolerance for corruption and negligence of duty, noting that no matter the developmental efforts by the state government, local government must perform their duties before the state can be highly rated in terms of development. Obaseki said that through the monthly JAAC meetings, he discovered that Musa bloated the council's wage bill to the extent that his council's bill was in excess of that of the Redo local government area, which has the largest workforce. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Comrade Adams Oshomole, hails from Esako West local government area. And Benue State government has set up a steering committee to midwife the state health insurance scheme in its quest to achieve the objectives of the National Basic Health Care Program. Inaugurating the committee at Government House Makodi, Governor Samuel Otom charged the members to do a thorough job to ensure the people reap the benefits offered by the scheme. We have the details.
Inaugurating the State Steering Committee charged with the responsibility of stewardship for the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, the state governor urged them as pace-setters to build the foundation that the success of the primary health care and other related social service in the state will stand on.
In addition, this steering committee shall function as the state strategic group for promotion, collaboration, and the development and implementation of basic healthcare provision to achieve optimal results.
He directed, among others, that the committee meet at least quarterly to provide cross-functional leadership and ensure visibility across the entire state.
To stick like this, it is very, very important. Most times people who are innovated like this, they do not care to know what they are there for. They are concerned about what they will get for themselves. This is not right. This time demands that we must serve the people.
The state embraced the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund by donating the sum of 100 billion naira as counterpart fund, while the federal government has set aside 1.7 billion naira, which will be distributed among the state health insurance and primary health care board.
The only way to tackle the scourge of breast cancer in Nigeria is to carry out more aggressive enlightenment campaign and increase access to medical care to women. This is the candid advice of some survivors of breast cancer who say they were able to overcome the scourge by having access to the right information. They stated this as stakeholders gathered for the 2019 Jog for Life breast cancer awareness campaign in Akure, the Ondo State capital.
Jog for Life is an annual event organized by Breast Cancer Association of Nigeria (BRECAN) to stimulate actions against the disease through public awareness in support for victims. Jog for Life is also a period meant to showcase survivors as a way of giving hope to others who are still battling breast cancer. At the event in Akure, the Ondo State capital, was a breast cancer survivor, Fumilayo Oluwa, who said access to right information remains the best way to fight the menace.
We beat breast cancer. When I was diagnosed, 2014, I've had reoccurrence like twice, but I beat it. Each time it comes, I beat it because I know what to do. The first thing to do is to go to the hospital.
Wife of the state governor, Betty Anyanwu Akeredolu, who observed that breast cancer has largely been killing women as a result of ignorance, urged them to seek medical attention and stop seeing it as spiritual attack.
Nigerian women bring rotten breasts to the hospital. Some of them, they carry them on wheelchair, on stretcher, because the cancer has gone all over them, affected all organs. So when people say that is a death sentence, we are saying it's not true. It's because our women are not doing the right thing at the right time.
This year Jog for Life awareness, which kicked off at Nepa Market, took participants to Akerele and Isiko Market before stopping at Democracy Park in Akure.
The Kaduna State Command of Nigeria's Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC) says its operatives active intelligence reports have uncovered 2 more illegal rehabilitation centers in the state. The State Deputy Commandant of the Corps, Aloysius Oyema, said this while parading operators of the 2 centers and their 11 victims in Kaduna. Our correspondent reports that the illegal rehabilitation centers are located in Limanchi, Iya, and Marmara communities, both in Zaria local government of the state.
These are operators of the illegal rehabilitation center in Zaria and their victims paraded by the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense in Kaduna. According to the Deputy Commandant NSCDC, Kaduna State, Aloysius Onyema, the command raided the center on Tuesday to rescue the victims.
In bad conditions. One of them was under, or 2 of them were under chain when we came, and we have unlocked them for now. They are really in very bad situation. But the worst situation is that they are operating this rehabilitation center without approval. No information from anybody. They are just on their own, doing what they want to do. They bring them, put them on chain, do whatever, I don't know, which with investigation, we will eventually dig up more facts.
Acting Governor of Kaduna State, Hadiza Balelebi, says the state government will ensure that the operators are brought to justice.
We're not stopping just like this. We will continually get all the people that are involved, free all the inmates.
One of the victims from Osun State narrated ordeal.
Unfortunately, it's a relative of mine that invited me here, that introduced me to Zaria. I said I should come over, that he promised me a job. That we'll get here, that will promise me an IT. Like if I can come over and do my IT over here. And on that very day that this situation happened, I was in that very morning just said I should dress up, that we should go to the place of work. He promised me that the charge will come. So on getting there, I just took me to the one area, one compound there, because I didn't know the area. He just took me there, he just took me to the house. I like an unknown house there. I just saw the people there shackled, with shackles on legs, and I was like, before I could say anything, I was lured inside, I was hijacked, I was attacked by unknown personalities.
During the operation, 3 victims were found dead.
You're watching Clearview Television News. Up next, We'll be right back after this time out.
This is Ibrahim calling from Niger State, Berkin Power. Oh, this is Anita from Benin. My name is John, calling from Niger. My name is Ahmed, I'm calling from Kogi State.
This is Clearview TV, and this is our spread through free-to-air via Niconsat and online.
Yes, this is Bitrus calling you from Adamawa State. Adamawa Ahmad Ibrahim.
Mala Ahmad Ibrahim da goce jiha kenan.
Daga Yobe. I'm calling from Benue. My name is Chukwu.
You can imagine how far your advertisements, social announcements, official notices, and jingles will go if you patronize us. It's time to take your messages far at the cheapest rate.
You're welcome back. And on the foreign scene, a Russian pair of nuclear-capable bombers made an unprecedented visit to Africa on Wednesday, reflecting Moscow's new push for influence. The Defense Ministry said Russia will use the planes in joint military exercise with South African colleagues, describing the visit as a sign of strategic partnership. Russia is holding its first ever summit with Africa in Sochi. At a bilateral meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa, Putin said Moscow is looking to further expand trade with one of the most developed economies on the continent. Russia has signed military cooperation agreements with at least 28 African countries, the majority in the past 5 years. The activist had earlier accused government of plotting to remove his security detail and to subsequently instigate mob attack on him and blame it on ethnic strife. Anna Campbell was killed while serving with the Kurdish Women's Protection Units in the northwestern town of Afrin. The father of the first British woman to die fighting against IS in Syria is campaigning to bring his daughter's remains back to the UK. Anna Campbell, 26, was volunteering with the Kurdish Women's Protection Units, the all-female brigade of the Kurdish People's Protection Unit is the besieged city of Afrin when she died in March 2018. She had traveled to Syria via Lebanon in 2017 and was hit by what is thought to be Turkish airstrikes. Her death made her the 8th British citizen to die in the country, but the first woman. Dara Campbell from Lewes in East Sussex has launched a legal campaign to bring her body home from the now Turkish-controlled area. He said his repeated appeals to both the British and Turkish governments to repatriate Ms. Campbell's remains have been so far unsuccessful, despite the exact location of her body being known. And Carlos Ghosn steps up his fight for freedom as his legal team bids to have the financial misconduct case against him thrown out. Lawyers for the ex-chairman of Nissan, Carlos Ghosn, have applied for criminal charges against him in Japan to be dropped, claiming he is the victim of a conspiracy. Papers filed in the Tokyo District Court on Thursday claim that the financial misconduct charges he faces were the result of collusion between authorities and the company to stop his plans for a deeper tie-up with alliance partner Renault. They alleged that the resulting alleged misconduct meant that he could not receive a fair trial. Ghosn, once the most powerful auto executive in the world, was first arrested in November last year following an internal investigation by Nissan. The case against him relates to alleged improper payments and the misstatement of income amounting to tens of millions of dollars. Nissan chief executive Hiroto Seikawa, who had been critical of his mentor in the wake of his detention, quit last month after it was revealed his own financial dealings had fallen short of the company's standards. Lawyers for Mr. Ghosn, who is currently out on bail as he fights the case against him, claimed he was a victim of a plot to remove him as chairman. You're watching Clearview Television News. Up next is sports.
Tiger. And the Jamaican juggernaut scores his first goal for a professional side. And
Hello and welcome to the sporting segment of Clearview Television. I'm Oguntimei to the Lakwa Oguntimei. The Estadio Olimpico, Guania, will come alive on Saturday when the five-time world champions in the FIFA Under-17 World Cup, Golden Eagles of Nigeria, will tackle Hungary in the opening game in Group B of this year's championship taking place in Brazil. The young football ambassador from Nigeria touched down in Guania on Tuesday from Sao Paulo, the city they had their training tour, and the team swung into action with training session in preparation for the clash against the East European side. Report says Coach Manu Gaba and his assistant are not leaving the stone unturned as they continue to impart tactical and technical knowledge to the players ahead of the game against Hungary. Coach is strongly affirmed to be a very important tie, and winning the opening game is crucial in building the confidence level in the team. He said we're looking forward to the game against Hungary with great expectation of having a good game and winning the maximum points at stake. And any team from Europe that qualify for a tournament like this must definitely be a good side. But we'll approach the game with every seriousness it deserves to give Nigerians back home something positive to cheer at the end of 90 minutes. Both teams are not new to each other, as the Golden Eagles that have now been rechristened the Super Eagles by FIFA defeated Hungary 3-1 at the quarterfinal stage of the maiden edition of the tournament in 1985 en route to becoming the first country to win the tournament after the team defeated Germany 2-0 in the final. The quest for the Eagles to conquer the world again begin in few hours' time, and dispatching Hungary will indeed be a strong display of intent towards winning the sixth world title after victories in 1985, 1993, 2007, 2013, and 2015. Nigeria will also play Ecuador and Australia in the group phase. The Secretary General of Nigeria Football Federation, Salisu Mohammed, has assured Nigerians that the Golden Eagles will perform credibly well at the Under-17 World Cup in Brazil, which kicks off on Saturday. Sanusi made this known while speaking with newsmen in Abuja, where he said that the Federation has done everything within its power to prepare the team, not mind the pocket of challenges here and there.
The Under-17 are ready to go. We have already sent them to Brazil for touring tour. The purposes of which were first for them to acclimatize with the weather, and secondly also to play quality friendly matches before the competition. They are leaving today to the venue of their match, their first match, and what Nigerians expect from them, of course, is the same thing we from the Federation are expecting from them, is for them to bring the trophy to Nigeria. They have done it before, and they have the able players and the coaching crew to be able to fit that fit. That is what we expect from them.
In terms of preparation, would you say the Federation has done everything within their mind to prepare them for this competition?
I have already said so. They started camping locally here, and it started with a free open camp where they selected a couple of players, and of course they were camping and decamping until they arrived at the number that was manageable, and they conducted the MRI test from where they selected their players. I can tell you also that after selecting the players, just like I told you, they played some friendly matches here at home before they jetted out of the country to Brazil, where they camped. The essence of the campaign, as I said, to acclimatize, which is part of the technical aspect of it, and the second aspect, of course, for the coaches to test not just the strength of the players, but how the players can be paired together to play. And I can say that the outcome of the friendly matches are encouraging. They convincingly won the matches, and the coaches are happy, everybody is happy. What we want you people to do, of course, is to continue to talk positive about the players. They're just young lads. Talking positive about them will encourage them to do more. But when they open pages of newspapers, either online also, and they see negative criticism about them, as young lads, they'll just feel discouraged and feel disliking by their own people at home. So we want you please to help us, psychologically,
first in things that can be motivators to them, not things that can create controversy and instigate them against the federation, and of course make them feel as if they have been abandoned.
Moving forward, we have won this trophy about 5 times. 5 times. We have won this trophy about 5 times. And looking at it right now, and so many players have been able to graduate from the under 17 to under 20 and even the Super Eagles. So right now we have so many players who have played at the under 17 level, graduating to the national team and playing for the Super Eagles. Would you say the uppermost thing on the federation mind is to win this trophy or to get exposure for some of our players so they can take their game to the next level?
Anytime we get into competition, we go with the intention of winning. We don't just go there to complete numbers. But more importantly, as you have said, we have won it several times. So winning that trophy is not anything to us. What we are trying to do is to make sure that we use the under 17 tournament as a springboard for some of these players to graduate mental program. It is not issue of we must win at all costs. No, we want it. We want Nigerians to see it as a developmental program.
Meanwhile, midfield maestro Kelechi Nwakali is the latest player to join a camp of Nigeria's under-23 boys Olympic Eagles in Abuja as the team intensifies preparation ahead of the third African under-23 Cup of Nations holding in Egypt early next month. The former under-17 World Cup winning captain, who plays for Spanish side SD Oscar, was among the players that took part in Thursday's morning training session at the National Stadium training pitch, supervised by coach Imama Makpakabo and his assistant. The Mercurial midfielder played an integral part in the qualifiers as the team dispatched Libya and Sudan to book a slot in the under-23 AFCON finals. Nigeria's under-23 squad to open their campaign against Cote d'Ivoire in the tournament on 19 November in Cairo before taking on Zambia on 12th November and South Africa on 15th November. All the matches will hold at the Al Salam Stadium. Winners, runners-up, and top-place team will represent Africa in the next year's men's Olympic football tournament in Tokyo, Japan. The fair is expected to last for 2 weeks from 8 to 22nd November 2019. And finally, before we go, the Super Eagles have dropped to 35th in the latest FIFA ranking, despite recording a 1-0 draw with five-time world champions Brazil earlier this month. Last month, the Eagles were 34th in the global ranking. Nigeria also remained third best team in Africa behind 2019 AFCON finalists Senegal and Tunisia, who Nigeria defeated 1-0 to claim third place at Egypt 2019. The Eagles begin their 2021 AFCON qualifying campaign next month when they host Benin before they head out to Lesotho. Benin are now ranked second in the world by FIFA, while Lesotho at 138. The next FIFA rank and ratings will be released on November 28th. And that's it from the sporting segment of Clearview Television News. Hamo Gotimein to Lolakwa Gotimein.
There it is. What a shot from Tiger. And the Jamaican juggernaut scores his first goal for a professional side. And
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
That will be all for the news. But before we go, a look at our top stories. Nigeria's Attorney General and Justice Minister Bubakar Malami says the federal government has forwarded a request to the National Assembly seeking legislative approval for the payment of 2.5% of the Sani Abacha loot for persons who facilitated the recovery process. The chairman of Nigeria's electoral umpire, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has called for a uniform law to govern the conduct of local government elections in the country. And we also told you that a pair of Russian bombers with nuclear capability made an unprecedented landing in South Africa hours before the closing session of the two-day Russia-Africa summit in Sochi. And that's the news. Remember that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel via Clearview TV, like us on Facebook via Clearview Television, follow us on Twitter at Clearview Online, follow us on Instagram at ClearviewTV_NG. You can also watch Clearview TV on Night Consult with any free-to-air decoder. Details, contact your local installer. I am Prudence Sokona. Many thanks for watching.